Today we're going to be talking about, you heard me, this is an all-natural product line. There's no harsh chemicals. You can use this without any gloves on. It smells good. The only product they sell that's got a very, very strong smell is this one, the Safer Solvent. And the strongest smell is with orange and lemon, so it's not particularly troubling. What you're going to get when you're going to see this product line is the one that started it all is the Odie's oil, which is this one. This is the one that started it all. The fellow that came up with this, his father was a contractor, and he and his brother would do the floors. And using the 4 solvents and the 4 finishes at the time, he and his brother would get sick because the smells were so bad. For product that was all natural that wouldn't hurt you. And this is what he came up with. It's really neat. It does a great job. I've been using it for years. Don't care if you get it on you. It is a finish that attaches to the top layer of the wood. There is no penetration into the wood. It lays in the first fibers. It's actually in the fibers. Since it's only in the first fibers, if there was damage, it's easy to sand the damage away, put some more of this on, wipe off the excess, and you can't tell the difference. Also, it makes a great friction finish if you're a turner. This is a little piece of Buckeye burl that eventually is going to be a wine bottle stopper. And I'll pass this around, but this is with Odie's oil on it, then it's with the wood butter on it. And I didn't put any on the inside so you can see what it looks like without a finish on it. But this is what we're going to do today is I've got the 3 things. This is a nice cheese server. This is a smaller cheese server that actually has no finish on it whatsoever. So we're going to put the Odie's on this. Butter on. This one has got the wood butter on it. In 30 minutes we can take it off. This has got Odie's oil on this piece of walnut. And this is the regular Odie's here. This is the dark here. So the first thing you're going to tell me is, Rick, I don't see a difference. Okay? That's true, you won't see a difference now. However, the one with the dark on it is going to darken much faster than normal. So if you come back a week from now, and this is out here, you'll be able to tell which side is the dark, which side is the light. That sounds like Star Wars. So it's a good product. I like them all. The 2 I use the most is the oil and the butter. And we're going to take this off too. This is, when you put it on, you need to leave it get an hour. Got here. We've got the oil, which is a combination of oil and wax. We've got the dark oil, which is got some stuff in there to make the wood, the finish, oxidize a little faster, gives it a little darker texture. It's good if you want something really, really dark. If you've got some walnut or some really figured stuff that you really want to pop, this will help do it. One of the things we talk about all the time with finishes is color. Is this going to affect the color of the wood? All finishes affect the color of the wood. However, they can do it in a way that we like. This is a normal tongue well finish on walnut. I like tongue well finishes on walnut. I like the amber cast it gives, okay? Nice piece of walnut, just a regular finish, okay? This is also walnut. And you can see the deep, rich color that this oil gives to walnut. One of the reasons I like to use this in the combination where there's a high contrast is because not only does it give the walnut a deeper color, look at the maple. What's different about this maple? A normal oil gives maple a yellow color. This, if you really want light color woods like maple and holly to really stand out, it's a great, great finish. Now, I'd use the regular oil and not the dark stuff because over time that will make it darker. So, what else does it? All this stuff needs to be stirred, really stirred. That's not hard. It's easy to do. So when you open up a thing, you're going to look at it and say, this is just solid. And you're going to turn it upside down and nothing's going to come out. But as you work with it and stir it and move it around, the heat from doing that is going to make this thing much more easy to put on. So you've got to stir it. Now, what else do we have? We've got Odie's wax. Odie's oil's got a little bit of wax, a lot of oil. Odie's wood butter has got a lot of wax, a little bit of oil. Odie's wax has got wax. Okay? It's a hard wax. Both the wood butter and the wax is a hard, you're going to see it, it's going to chip off. You're going to be chunks of it. You know, this is silly. Put your finger on there, rub it around. All of a sudden you got wax all over your finger. Put a little bit on, push it in, and we go to town. Dark wood butter, same thing. And this is the regular Odie's oil. Now we'll look up here. We've got a cleaner, a solvent, and a penetrating oil. Super penetrating oil. Think of Odie's without very much wax at all. Okay. If I am doing a natural edge, if I'm doing something with bark, and you know from hearing me talk before, you never leave bark on something because bark's going to fall off. But eventually, if you wanted to put a finish on bark or finish a surface like this, you want to keep this type of this surface because it looks appealing. So you're going to do this, maybe put a big clock right here hanging on the wall, but you want to leave this. How do you do this with Odie's? Well, Odie's is really simple. What you're going to do is you're going to take your Odie's oil and you're going to take the same amount of this solvent, mix them 1-to-1, and then just take a brush and just brush that mixture on all this stuff and walk away, you're done. There's no rubbing, there's no muss, there's no fuss. It's a very good, solid finish. And it works for bark, it works for this fancy stuff here. Regular Odie here, regular Odie's here, but on this part that's really rough, then you'd use the solvent and the Odie's oil 1-to-1. You could also use this penetrating 1-to-1 with the solvent for things like this. So, like this for it. Suppose the thing you need to do when you restore a piece of furniture is you need to clean it. So you use the cleaning concentrate. A little bit goes a long way. After you've cleaned it and got all the junk off of it, you go over it with this. After you do that, you can either use it straight, you can mix it with the solvent, or you can use regular Odie's on it. And that is your refinishing. It does a great job on the surface. It prepares the surface for using the oil. But what most we're going to use it for is using it for a simple finish. So, how does that work? Buy you some of these or some of these. This is what I like to use with the oil. They both work well. I like to use these for the butter. I like to use these for the oil. And what we're going to do, this is Brazilian rosewood, Cortison white oak. So the first thing we do, anytime you get an Odie's product, is you have to stir it. And stir it, and stir it. Now I've been stirring this earlier, so this is the consistency that you want. So you're going to I'll pass this around, I'll let you take a, but that's what you're looking for. with the butter, it's nice and solid. I can get in here with my finger and liquefy it, or I can stir it a little bit. If you stir the butter, you don't have to go really deep. Just a little where you want to get the surface so you can get the little pad in there and go to town. Oh. So then the big thing is, how much do you use? Now let me start. Let me draw this a second. Okay, here. So we can take our Odies, put it on the pad. Don't need a little goes a long way, and we are just going to rub this in.
What kind of materials would the solvent remove?
Basically, anything mineral spirits will do, the solvent will do. It's gentler than mineral spirits. It doesn't do it as quite as fast, but then again, it does it without the smell, and it does it without the harsh chemicals. And when I use this as a friction finish on the lathe, I just use a piece of this or a piece of this, put the Odies on it, and just use it like a normal friction finish. Yeah, normally when I do this, I do the top and the sides. I don't usually do the bottom because I don't want to put it on the tabletop. So that little bit on my finger, pass this around, and you're going to feel the wax on here. A little bit of this stuff goes a very, very long way. So when you look at this and go, oh my God, that bottle's $100. This bottle would last me the rest of my natural life, because I put a little bit on, and it goes a long, long way. I've been using Odies for years, and I've probably had 3 jars, and I've been using it a long time. Very, very good job. And it is a set procedure for doing it, though. And procedure, what we want is, we want to give it time to set. Pull you Odies on this side of this to show you what it looks like. In fact, let's do the darker one, because darker with walnut, that's way too much. But you just put this on and start doing what I'm doing, and it'll just keep going and going and going.
Which product do you try?
This is the dark Odie's oil. This is, Odie's dark. Yellow from the tongue wall, no yellow from the Odie's. Okay? Is something to keep in your finishing quiver. Okay? You can really change wood with what you choose to use as a finish. We didn't add any color to it. Well, we had a little color of this, but that's what the oil does. So it's always nice to have options. And we can work on this and work on just keep going to town. In fact, let me put this over here, put this over here. So now we got the stuff on. We'll do this with the butter in a second. We got to take it off. And this is called buffing. You got to buff. They want you to wait an hour. 2 hours is good too. I put Odie's oil on this about 45 minutes ago. You can use it for stuff outside, stuff inside, stuff in bright sunlight. As we pass this around, 100 up, and it makes a big difference. The sand, how do you sand this? The grit that you use. So this is 120, well, 150, 182. What's this one? 400? Yeah. As you go down the board, and I'll pass this around so you can look at it from all different angles, notice how much the figure really stands out here versus down here. This is the same piece of wood. It's got the same figure throughout. The more you sand with a higher grit, the more the beauty of the wood sits out. Okay? So here, this looks much more figured than down here. Same piece of wood. Same figure throughout. So this does a very good job. And this is done. You are done finishing that board now. That's it. You can put butter on it if you want. So a lot of times I'll put the butter on stuff that I really want to look pretty. So I put butter an hour ago. Another thing this does is this waterproofs the wood. So you can have this in an area in the kitchen, in the bar. Now the kitchen, I haven't used this in the kitchen with kitchen cleaners, with the ammonia and the alcohol. Theoretically, it should stand up well. But I can't tell you that I've used it. However, I have used it for bar tops and tables outside where people put beers and wines and whiskeys and sodas and spell stuff. And I've never had a problem. It worked very, very well. Without wood butter, with wood butter.
Now, is that wood butter the first coat, or did you put it over?
You put wood butter over a coat of Odie's. So that had one coat of Odie's.
Regular Odie.
But the reason to use the wood butter is to make something shinier, luster than you would get with just the plain old Odie's. And that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to put some wood butter on here. Another thing you want to do is not what I've done. When we're done with these, you should really put the caps right back on. Take what you need out and put the caps back on, because oxygen makes this stuff set. What I like about it is I can take this stuff, wipe it off. What's on here will dry on the stick, and I can still use it to stir. Okay. You go up here, you go down here. The wood butter. The wood butter, if we were to, in fact, I'll pass this around. You can see how hard this is about. You can give it a little twist if you want. That's in there pretty good. We still have to stir that. But what we can do is just stir a little bit on the top layer. Work it around real good. The more you use it, the more heat you generate, the more liquefied it becomes. Okay, thank you. For the hard wax, I like to use the white pads or the wood butter. And this is probably way too much wood butter. Again, with the wood butter, you really only have to do it on one side, because all this is to add a luster. And what we like to do, again, just move it around. We want to get it into the pores. So I find I use this product a lot on anything like this, where you would put cheeses or chips, or heck, you can put sandwiches, you can put all kinds of stuff on this. You can use this on cutting boards. In fact, it works very, very well on cutting boards. Since it's an oil-wax combination, if you use it on a cutting board over time, when you get streaks in it, just put a little bit more on there and they'll disappear, they'll go away. So this does a very good job. That needs to be buffed off in about an hour. All manufacturers have their own shelf lives, okay? I found out for everything I buy for a finish, I use Rick's rule of 2 years. If I haven't used it in 2 years, throw it away. That being said, this lasts a long time. It's designed to use a little bit You don't use much, so it's designed to last you a long time. This was my exception with the Odies, because this little puppy right here is $40, okay? But this literally, as a little bit, goes a very long way. You saw me put stuff on here with just a fingertip worth of glue, and it's worked great. That's the big thing. Just a little bit goes a long way. I did breadboard edges because I like the contrast. As a side note, if you get a domino, breadboard edges are a piece of cake. You can do it in 5 minutes. So much for festival, but they work really well. But you can see that I got a nice white color on the maple. It kept the color. It really darkened the walnut, so it added contrast. Anytime you add contrast to what you do in woodworking, it's pleasing to the eye. People really, really like it. And this is just a simple little non-traction stickers you can put on, and you've got an instant Christmas gift. Does a great job. One of the things we like about white oak, when we use white oak, is if you get quarter sawn, you get what's called the medullary raise. And I like this because you can see how these are standing out now. Now, like anything else, you have to move around to get the sheen, but you get the idea. So this does a very good job. And like I said, normally we let this sit for a little bit, but let's polish it a little. Now, can I put another coat of oil on top of a dried coat of oil? Normally, the answer is no, unless you put it on with sandpaper. Because what you're going to do is you're going to break the surface so that the oil into the wood. Well, same thing with Odies. Since we apply it, speaking of which, what's the grit of one of these gray pads? If you need to talk about these in grits, normally we talk about 4/0 steel wool, 5/0 steel wool. Or what's the grit of one of these? Pop quiz. The grit of one of these is 600 to 800 grit. 600 to 800. If you're doing a piece of sandpaper, it's somewhere between 600 and 800 grit, which is perfect for applying oil on top of oil. And all these boards to 220. Now, normally they want you to let this thing dry for at least an hour. This has been dried for about 10 minutes. Okay, does this still work? And the answer is no, you really need to let it dry for an hour. Because I can take my finger and I can put it right across there and I can see where my finger went. It's going to give you a real good idea, though, for the sheen, the feel. And again, this is an inside-outside finish. I can use it on furniture on the deck. I can use it for bowls. I could use it for platters. I can use it for anything. You want to wait at least an hour. Does it matter if you wait 2 hours? No, 2 hours is good. 3 hours? Now you're starting to push it. You really want to get all the surface stuff off. The only thing you want on this board when you get finished is the oil that's already gone into the fibers of the wood with the waxes. Easy to keep it going. If I ever want to rejuvenate it, I could put a little more wax on it. I could put some wood butter on it. Again, this is, if you're a turner, this is really great stuff for turning. Pens, pencils, bowls, peppermills. So if you put on the Odie's wax with the butter, and then you want to add more later to recharge it, when you put the new wax on, the solvents in the new wax will dissolve the old wax that's sitting on the piece of wood. It'll incorporate it all. So there's no such thing as a wax buildup. Because anytime you put on a new layer of wax, it liquefies the old layer, they mix, and when you buff everything off, you still got one layer of wax. Same with this stuff.
So you buff it at the time, you've got it on the lathe, but then you're going to wait an hour and buff it again?
Depends what I'm making, and no. Because I'm friction polishing, I'm adding heat. Since I'm adding heat, I'm accelerating this process in about 2 minutes. Okay? What I did is I had some oil and butter on some of these pads, and I just turn on here, use what was already on the pad, and did it. Then I take a cloth, hold it up there, build up the heat. Take the butter, do the same thing, hold the cloth up here, build up the heat, it's done. And you can see that I took ugly looking wood. Every time I look at this, I think of Van Gogh's Starry Night. That's Buckeye Burl. Buckeye Burl is a beautiful, beautiful wood.
Now, would you just one coat or on a turning?
One coat.
One coat.
One coat. That's all you. If you understand that this doesn't build up, this is actually going to penetrate the wood fibers and do everything it's magic. You're wasting it. And at $40 a bottle, don't waste it. A little bit goes a long way. I mean, I've put it on the big board, I've put it on all this stuff here, and when you look at the top of it, a little bit's gone. So this lasts a good long while, and it makes your skin nice and supple smooth. Any questions?
The oil component in this and how or to waste it, like palm oil.
It does. That's one of the things you're waiting on. And then once you let it grab the wood and form with the wood, the buffing is to get all the excess off. Because the only thing the excess is going to do is it's going to sit on the top, and you come back, I can come back 2 or 3 hours, it's going to feel oily and waxy. That's why you need to do the buffing, and this is the best type of cloth to buff with. Now, once I've buffed all this waxes and oils out of here, these are cheap, throw them away. You don't have to worry about fire. You don't have to worry about fire with this stuff, because we're not soaking this rag. We're not soaking this. We're just using a little bit of it. Since we're using so little, and since this actually is going to harden in the wood, this doesn't harden here. So, no, you're good to go. This is one of the safest oil finishes that you can put on. I've been using it a long time. If anybody makes any mistake with this stuff, they use way, way too much on this part. Okay? This is left over from doing it the last time. Just what you'd use for any normal table, any piece of wood. They make wood cleaners. This cleaner here is outstanding. It's an orange concentrate, so a little bit goes a long, long way, or you can just mix it with water and use it like normal. But just any type of orange oil, any type of just a little bit of wood cleaner. A little bit really does go a long way. The big boo-boo with this stuff is you don't use enough. Oh wait, use too much rather. Use too much. I can take my finger and draw it there, and I can see the line. Now, can I put more on here? Oh, absolutely. I can do whatever you want. You're going to be amazed how far this stuff goes. Got all over my hands. So I always take one of these things, just wipe off the air. Absolutely. Go to town. Like I said, when I redo furniture, the first thing I'll do is I'll hit it with this. And if there's any grease, oil, anything, and if you've all seen desks or chairs where somebody's arm has been on there for, another thing you want to do is if there's any old, this is a good cleaner. This is for dirt. This is for other things that might get on there that would harm the finish. Once these two are done, if you're doing big jobs, you can use this stuff. Now, when you stir this really gets much, this is kind of like honey. This is more liquidy than that because it doesn't have that many waxes. This is really a good penetrating oil. However, I've never really needed, I've always just used the products that you see here. Haven't used this, I have used that. And this has got a, Yeah,
That's already been applied to it.
if there is damage to it, something happened.
I'm just thinking if you accidentally took a carpet scraper to it.
So we've got damage here. It's wear damage. Over time, just moving back and forth or whatever it is, has caused wear damage. That's one of the nice things about it. Oil finishes are really, really easy to fix. And this is no exception. Does a great, great job. The pads that you'd want, you can use any pads that you want, really. I like this one, and I like this one. These are the two ones I go, because I've normally sanded this stuff to at least 200 grit, 220. Remember, an oil finish goes into the wood. So when you run your hands across the wood, you are actually feeling the wood. You're not feeling the film, the finish. If you're using any type of film finish, shellac, lacquer, tabletop varnish, polys, urethanes, those are all between you and the wood. The oil isn't. The oil is in the wood. So when you're running your hand, you're actually feeling the surface of the wood. So you do want to sand these at least to 220. And you see, if you've got some really figured stuff, you might want to sand a little bit more. Because I think this is obviously much prettier than this is. Same piece of wood, same figure. So you're going to affect it by how much you sand, and you're going to affect it by using the colors. Okay, so if I want to take an amber cast, because sometimes I do this on purpose. I use tung oil because I want this look on the walnut. Other times I want the walnut, something like the Odie. The Odie is the only oil I've seen that really keeps true to the colors of the wood. We don't add different tints. It just darkens them. All finishes are going to change the color that you see. Normally, it just darkens them. This is what this particular piece looks like with the finish. It could be poly, it could be oil, it could be you name it. This is what it's going to look like. Now, if I add tung oil to this would be much more yellowy. Sometimes that's a good thing, and I want that. Sometimes I don't. I want the choice. Okay, I'm the one spending all the time and money and effort making something out of wood that really, I want it to be striking. I want it to be really pretty. So I want the choice of what I can do to accent or highlight certain things. Again, think of it as another arrow in your quiver. So you're not limited to different, if I do this with a product, they're all going to be the same color. Well, I'm going to change products. I'm going to get choices. If there's anything in your shop that won't hurt you, this is it. It doesn't have that nasty, nasty solvent stuff. And let me tell you, some of the solvents in there are really bad. So this does a good, good job. Doesn't hurt you. Doesn't hurt you at all. Any questions about anything that we've done? Well, we got one more thing to brush off now. And you'll feel this when you start doing the buff it off. It starts off, you can feel the sticky, and then it starts to go really smooth. That means you need to flip it over, keep on going. But the oil is, the wax is when you want to increase the sheen. If you use just the wax itself, you even get a nicer sheen, a nicer gloss. I have taken this, I put a Beal buffing bonnet on my lathe, the wax one. I've turned it up high and I've just held this stuff to it, and it does a good job. So wax is always on there wax will always improve the luster of an oil. Oils and waxes go hand in hand. And with this system, You can use the hard wax, or you can use the wood butter. The wood butter has got a little oil in it. Now, since we're going to use this to serve food, do we put this in the dishwasher? Haha, no. No. But this cleans off real easy. Any questions?